U.S. President Joe Biden has made his first major move against Russia. He's imposed sanctions on Russian officials and businesses in response to the poisoning and jailing of Alexey Navalny. The Kremlin critic was poisoned with a nerve agent Novichok in August and arrested when he returned to Moscow after receiving treatment in Germany. Let's speak to our White House correspondent Kimberly Halkett. Kimberly, the first sanctions by the Biden administration against Russia. What more details do we know?
Well, we're standing by for a press briefing by the White House press secretary, where we hope to learn more about these actions. What we can tell you so far from a background briefing with reporters is that this will include 14 businesses and one entity, as well as 7 senior members of the Russian government. So we're still expecting to get more details on those specific individuals. But what I can tell you is that the United States consulted closely with its European Union ally to try and kind of send a message to Russia on the heels of the European Union doing its own set of sanctions. But this is just the beginning, because not only are these sanctions in response to the intentional poisoning, the U.S. intelligence say, of Alexey Navalny, the Russian opposition leader, and his subsequent jailing, but also the United States is interested in another action by Russia, and that is affecting the American supply chain, notably the hack that took place many months ago of American agencies, which laid that supply chain bare to Russian intelligence officials. So we expect, according to U.S. officials, there will be further action. This, they say, is just the first step in response to really a changing of the relationship that is taking place between the United States and Russia, and how the U.S. government will proceed moving forward.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, what it signals in terms of the relationship between the U.S. and Russia, and how different it will be under the Biden administration.
It's a completely different relationship now as a result of these actions taken so early in the Biden administration. You remember the 2016 hacking by Russia. This was something that was concluded in terms of the intelligence here on the U.S. side, that Russia had interfered in the 2016 U.S. election to benefit Donald Trump. Even though there was that U.S. intelligence, Donald Trump refused to acknowledge, and even at the Helsinki summit where he met with Vladimir Putin, defended Russia and accepted Vladimir Putin's denials. It was a shocking moment here in the United States and left many people wondering what they didn't know about the U.S.-Russia relationship. As well, add to that the U.S. President Donald Trump never, in fact, took any punitive action against Russia for those bounties that were paid for on the lives of American soldiers in Afghanistan. So this is really a different approach taken again by the Biden administration in contrast to Donald Trump. And again, we're waiting to hear what more details we'll get from the White House press secretary when she holds her briefing in the next hour.
Thank you, Kimberly, for the moment. Of course, we'll be talking to you when we have more information out of Washington. Kimberly Halkett is our White House correspondent. Meanwhile, Russia's foreign minister says his country will respond to the sanctions. He cast doubt on Alexei Navalny's poisoning, but didn't mention the Kremlin critic by name.
When all those who treated him thoroughly hide all the facts which could help to understand what happened, and in parallel, instead of honest collaboration and not hiding, they start to punish us. This doesn't bring any credit to those who take decisions, and we will surely respond.
Dmitry Babich is a political analyst at the Russian state news agency Rossiya Sevodnya. He says the sanctions won't have an impact on the Russian economy.
Certainly, these actions by the U.S. will not have any effect on Russia, especially if you take into account the fact that actually the trade between Russia and the United States is very small. Sanctions from the European Union could be much more harmful, but so far they were limited to just several people whom the EU accused of being involved in Navalny's case. They are not going to have a serious impact on the economy. Actually, if you look at the real picture, Mr. Trump was much ruder and much more coarse with Russia than Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden is just insulting our president verbally. He made that terrible speech at the Munich conference where he didn't even mention the fact that Vladimir Putin is the president. He just said Putin is, undermining our institutions. So that's just rudeness. But it's verbal rudeness. Trump was rude in the sense that he imposed on Russia unheard of sanctions. But in general, of course, this is a very unfortunate situation because Russia would like to improve its relations with the United States and the European Union, but certainly not at the cost of letting someone like Navalny, who was declared guilty by the Russian court, not for political actions, but because he was a crook, he is in jail. Russia will not let a crook out of jail, even under sanctions.